The episode begins with Mizu finding the right brothel to get more information on Fowler. She reaches Madame Kaji's brothel and she educates Mizu about how sex is an art by showing different rooms and how each person has a peculiar sexual desire. Once this is done, Mizu gets straight to the point and asks how to reach Fowler's castle. They make a deal. Madame Kaji tells Mizu about a girl taken from her by the ruthless boss Hamada, who forced everyone in the area to pay him half of what they made. She asked Mizu to kill the girl Kinuyo for her good. She tells Mizu that Kinuyo is deaf and mute and her father had sold the girl to her after abusing her. Moreover, she requests Mizu to make it look like an accident. In Fowler's castle, Teijin is tortured as he does not reveal any information about Mizu. Fowler leaves the room, calling the torture boring. Heiji Shindo asks Teijin why he was protecting Mizu despite Mizu ruining his engagement and honor. Teijin says Mizu deserved better than him. Meanwhile, Mizu is resting and Akemi enters the room, wanting to serve Mizu. We see a flashback to when Akemi tried to find Teijin but got a lead to Mizu. Mizu's father is giving instructions to whom he thought was Mizu about the proper sexual position for marriage and realizes she is gone. He sends his men to search for her. Mizu sees these men while looking at Teijin and escapes their sight. She follows Mizu and Ringo around town and reaches the brothel for revenge. She disguises herself to be a sex worker and gets herself into Mizu's room. In the present, Akemi had drugged the sake she was serving Mizu. Akemi tried to flatter Mizu when she told her story about how she had killed a lowly swordsman. Akemi loses her patience and attacks Mizu, but Mizu is quick to deflect the attack. She then tells Akemi that she had not killed Teijin but had set a date for a duel. She ties Akemi up and asks Ringo to keep an eye on her and kill her if necessary. Mizu stealthily sneaks into Kinuyo's room where she is getting treated for the bruises caused by Hamada. She does the sign language as instructed and Kinuyo trusts Mizu. Mizu kills her and makes it look like the bodyguard has killed Kinuyo. Mizu gets out of the house and a boy sees her. She asks the boy to fetch a night security guard because of a fight between two people. Mizu goes back and informs Madame Kaji that the work was done. Madame Kaji gives Mizu directions on how to enter Fowler's castle. They hear a commotion outside after a while. Everyone goes out to see Hamada, who has brought a large group of men to burn the brothel down. Episode 5, The Tale of the Ronin and the Bride. The episode begins with a puppet show, with the story of Ronin and the bride. In the present, Mizu prepares Hamada's men to enter the brothel house to attack. She sends the others to the basement and asks Ringo to guard the basement. Mizu starts killing Hamada's men from the shadows. We see a flashback to Mizu's past, where her mother gets Mizu married to an outcast. He was a samurai called Mikio, but was thrown away by his lord. It was difficult for them both initially. However, they started to get to know each other and get close. Mikio liked a horse called Kai since he was tough. He wants to give it to his previous lord to win him over, but as they bond, he gives it to Mizu. They get close enough to share a bed. Mizu reveals about her birth and how she was treated growing up. Mikio tells her he wants to see everything about her and they duel. Mizu destroys Mikio in the battle, hurting his ego. He calls her a monster, and this hurts Mizu. She decides to soften her husband's heart by dressing up. Her mother then tells her that Mikio had gone to his previous lord to sell all his horses, including Kai. She hears horses and steps out to find some men who had come to kill her. At that moment, Mikio appears but walks away, leaving her to deal with the men. In the present, Mizu is wounded but tries to fight. Some men get to the basement, and Akemi and Ringo fight together to kill these men. Akemi finds Mizu on the floor and tries to wake her up. Eventually, she does when Akemi is in danger. Mizu then holds the door as a shield, but the men break it down, and she's under it, trying to get out. Mizu manages to get up and slay the entire army of men. We cut to the past when she did the same to those men who had come to kill her. In the present, Hamada is left to be killed by the women of the brothel. In the past, Mikio came back apologizing for leaving her. But her mother and Mikio got into a fight and Mikio kills her mother. Subsequently, Mizu ends up killing Mikio. Presently, Akemi's father's men find her and ask her to leave with them. She begs Mizu not to allow them to do it, but asks the men to take her away. Ringo confronts Mizu about her behavior, and because Mizu does not care about honor and only revenge, he leaves Mizu to go the rest of the way alone. The episode ends with the puppet show ending in Chauvin's presence. Akemi points out that she had met real Onryo vengeful spirit once, and they had nothing other than darkness in their eyes and hearts. She opens her mouth, showing dark teeth, indicating she is married to Chauvin's youngest son. Episode 6, All Evil Dreams and Angry Words. The episode begins with Mizu in front of Fowler's castle. He prays to have the strength to get her revenge while being reminded of all the ugly names she was called in the past and is hit with a pang of guilt after reminding herself of Ringo's words. As instructed, she enters the castle basement, knowing she has to reach the 9th floor. Then Mizu is met with her first hurdle. As she tries to pick a lock of a door in the basement, it is filled with water. She still manages to open the door and gasp for some air. Mizu enters the castle and sees guards all around. She manages to kill a couple of guards and reach the next level. One of the guards sees blood and starts to ring a bell. Mizu manages to kill that guard as well. Fowler is relaxed and entertaining his guests. He talks about the power of a gun over a sword and how white people were experts in killing. Heiji Shindo is worried and looks through a camera and sees Mizu. He watches Mizu cross the next barrier. The walls start closing in and Mizu runs towards the door, but swords start popping out without a set pattern. Just before she reaches the door, her foot is hit with a sword. She manages to cut it and pass through. The next barrier was the ground itself. It would open up, and below were swords. During the last jump, her sword gets stuck to the wall, and an army of men is waiting for her. She manages to kill them all without a weapon of her own. One man is spared and is asked to fetch her sword. Mizu enters a kitchen-like area and pauses as she dips her leg in frozen water. She notices the camera watching her a couple of times. The next trap is filled with zombie-like creatures. A giant shuts the lights off, but Mizu kills them all. She enters a cell and finds Teijin beat up. She helps him up and takes him along with her. The next challenge is to fight a giant. Teijin offers to help, but Mizu takes the giant on her own. She picks Teijin up and reaches the floor Fowler was on. Heiji Shindo starts to panic, but the other guests are relaxed, saying nobody would dare attack them. Just as they say that one of the guests was killed, Mizu enters the room with Teijin. Fowler shoots and Mizu's sword is cut and hits her shoulder. Mizu is beaten up, but when Teijin tries to help, he is beaten up as well. Fowler points the gun to Teijin and Mizu pulls Fowler out the castle window into the frozen water below. Mizu tries to get back on top, but is in vain. We see a black figure trying to help. Episode 7. Nothing Broken. The episode begins with Ringo in front of Master Iji's house with unconscious Mizu and Teijin. Mizu and Teijin are healing and Fowler and Heiji decide to leave the castle and go to Edo. Fowler wanted to destroy the shogunate clan and planned to smuggle guns through fishing boats. Heiji uses this information against Fowler by working with one of the shogun to get the rifles before they reach Fowler. Akemi is in her father's house and is presented with gifts from many lords because of her marriage. A bird is given. Akemi sets it free and Shogun's son shoots it. Akemi is angered and yells at him, but his mother watches this. Akemi is out with other concubines and sees Kaji. She stops to talk to her, and Kaji advises her to proceed with the marriage. Mizu is awake and her master tries to remind her of the lessons he taught her as a child. Teijin and Mizu spar and Teijin gets aroused and apologizes, saying he was missing Akemi. Mizu then reveals what had happened and Teijin is disappointed in Mizu for not being an honorable samurai. Mizu is hurt, becomes a better person, and performs the Heart Sutra with Ringo's help. Akemi at dinner is fed the bird the shogun's son had killed and at night is presented with 2 new birds. Akemi gets angry and slaps Shogun's son. He then tells her that he is apologizing for his mother's actions to get close, and they have sex. Meanwhile, Heiji's inside man gives terrible news that they found no weapons. Fowler had got the guns using a piano and other items. The men who had betrayed him were killed, and he let Heiji control the army under his command. Akemi fires her help and decides to hire Madame Kaji's girls. One of the girls' eyes reveals Fowler's plan to Akemi. Akemi takes her to her father, and she also reveals it to him. Her father pushes eyes down the castle and locks Akemi up, saying she's part of the clan and will be safe there until all this is over.